Leon Edwards shocked the fight world after knocking Kamaru Usman out with a glorious head kick to secure the UFC welterweight title. A lot of people think what Rocky did in that 5th round was nothing less than a miracle, but UFC legend Chael Sonnen has a different theory, and it's gotten Dana involved as well. Keep watching this video as we tell you everything Chael and Dana had to say following Rocky's last-minute victory. First up, he's too much of a gentleman. Sonnen has always been a controversial character in the fight world. He said a lot of things that have gotten the boss's attention, but this is the first time we've seen Dana hit back. It all started when Chael called out Rocky for cheating his way to a UFC title. In fact, a lot of MMA observers sided with the American gangster when he accused Edwards of grabbing the fence on multiple occasions. And honestly, it's okay if it happens once or twice, but the fact that Leon did it multiple times was a bit over the top. But Usman did it too, you know. The Nigerian Nightmare also did some glove grabbing late in the fight, and for Sonnen to say Edwards shouldn't have even made it to the 5th round is kind of unfair. You could argue that match referee Dean Herb could have done a better job, but telling us just one side of the story isn't something we expected from Chael. What's said is said though, and it doesn't really make any difference since Leon won fair and square by a perfect kick right to the thinker. Sonnen also said that Usman should have contested all the cheating after the match, but since he's too much of a gentleman, he let all that go. Or maybe he didn't say anything because he grabbed the fence 4 times to prevent Edwards from getting a takedown. We'll get to what Dana said in a bit, but Sonnen's latest video hasn't even sat well with his own fans. They've accused Uncle Chael for being extremely biased because he failed to point out that violations were done by both men inside the cage, and you can almost tell how salty he is with Leon winning. Right after Kamaru got knocked out, Chael tweeted something about how Nate Diaz is the champion, since he almost slept Edwards in the 5th round of their fight. Next, silly, ridiculous, and absolutely unfair. If you've watched some of our videos in the past, you've probably noticed how we're almost the first ones to blast Dana whenever he does something weird. Whether it's gifting one of his friends $250,000 while his fighters only get 12 grand, or imitating a jacked up Bullet Valentina in front of the press, we've always called him out for it. But we actually agree with what he had to say about Chael's accusations. And it's not even like Dana is praising Edwards for doing the impossible or something. He's already accepted that Kamaru dominated him for the entirety of the match, but the fact that Edwards was able to dig deep down and find it within himself to land such a spectacular kick is mind-blowing, and calling him a cheater after that is silly, ridiculous, and absolutely unfair to say. Now don't get us wrong, we think Kamaru is one of the greatest fighters out there. He's easily one of the best welterweights to ever fight at the promotion, but it's not like he was invincible or something. He was going to fall sooner or later. Fans and Sonnen in particular need to accept that. We will say this much though, Edwards did use the fence at some very critical moments. Whenever Kamaru took him down, he used the fence to escape. It's possible the fight might have ended then and there, but Chael needed to talk about both sides of the story. He wouldn't have gotten so much criticism from fans and Dana if he had balanced the scales by accepting that Kamaru also cheated in the fight on several occasions. So yeah, it may be silly, ridiculous, and unfair to say, but it's still a really valid point. Moving on, the hunt for the venue has already started. Trust us when we tell you this, we've seen a lot of useless rematches in the past, but if we're talking Kamaru versus Leon 3, it needs to happen. We won't say Edwards got lucky, but we do want to see how Kamaru reacts to adversity. We want to see if he comes back as a beast to demolish the man who slept him, or will we see a more cautious and conscious fighter? There's so many questions, and that's why the trilogy fight between these two guys needs to happen. Believe it or not, Dana White has already started hunting for venues. He's looking to set the fight up in London since that's where Edwards fights from, and we think Kamaru will come back much harder and probably win back his title. It'll be interesting to see how Chael reacts to it. Time for some more on the UFC. Up next, it's made it outside the MMA bubble. News of Paddy's weight problem has made it outside the MMA bubble now. Prior to his podcast with Steve-O, Dana raised some serious concerns on how scheduling fights is a big issue since he's never ready. Whenever the boss wants Paddy to fight, he has to think 3 to 4 months in advance because Paddy needs to lose at least 50 or 60 pounds, and getting him to lose that much weight in such little time could seriously impact his game. It's also not good on the body, but Dana didn't get into that too much. He said the lightweight is a grown man, capable of making his own decisions, and if he wants to balloon up to 200 pounds when he's not fighting, then that's his own choice. But it should be a bit concerning for Paddy how this is starting to become a part of his image and reputation. He's legit that guy at the UFC who gains a ton of weight when he's not fighting. Whenever he's interviewed or goes on a podcast, someone always hits him with that question. He should be talking about fighting and keeping fit, but the topic of discussion is always him being overweight. Steve-O made Paddy hop on a weighing scale in his latest podcast, and guess what? The Brit was 206.6 pounds. That's 50.6 pounds over the weight limit. We're hoping he gets it all together and stops putting his body through such tough weight cuts, because if he keeps up with it, he might end up having a really short-lived career. Now, for the greatest comeback in history, Conor McGregor knows how to stay in the headlines. There's this recent story going around that he uploaded a really raunchy video to his Instagram and deleted it after fans started to catch on with what was going on. And we don't want to talk about this a lot since it's still a developing story, but there's apparently an investigation for assault that may have happened on his yacht. Seems like the UFC bad boy is in a bit of trouble, but let's keep things light and cool and focus on the fight world. McGregor thinks his return to the UFC will be the greatest comeback in history. We're not really sure what to make of that. If you ask us, we don't even want him to make a comeback. We think he should just chill on his yacht and shoot films now, and we say that because he's probably going to lose if he makes a comeback. And while Chael Sonnen definitely messed him with the whole Edwards accusation, he did make sense when he said McGregor will never be a champ again. All the respect for you, champ, but your days as an MMA fighter are over. Finally, the champ has spoken. So far, it's just been Paddy and other fighters giving their predictions on Charles Oliveira versus Islam Makhachev at UFC 280. But after letting everyone have a word, the champ has finally spoken. Dope Bronx has vowed to not let Islam get past the first round in their highly anticipated fight for the lightweight title. At least Paddy and Justin were kind enough to say Islam would give him a really tough time, but the Brazilian thinks different. Charles recently uploaded some videos on Instagram, and we're not gonna lie, he looks in phenomenal shape. He's agile, loose, and most importantly, he looks relaxed and confident. Islam, on the other hand, has been trying really hard to change the narrative by issuing threats of his own, but he hasn't really been able to get people to rally for him. But all that doesn't really matter. What matters is how things play out on the night of action. So what are your predictions for this fight? We're gonna second the champ here. It'll be either by a first round TKO or submission. Anyway, that's it from our side, guys. So what do you think? Do you think the fence grabs makes a difference in the outcome of the fight? And will Leon be able to pull off something so brilliant in the rematch? Let us know in the comments below. Remember, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more exciting videos in the future. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.